Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, you can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Please help us grow by subscribing or sharing the Newsa-Cast with friends, or follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. Now, let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
Hello, Newsa-Cast listeners. Welcome to another edition, in fact, edition number 19 of the Newsa-Cast. We have a great episode here, Joe. We're going to just finish the World Series, but it's never a wrong time to talk baseball.
Oh, I love it, Tosh. We're talking baseball, right? Whether it's hot stove, whatever stove, it's baseball, our first love, and we got a good show today. All local baseball. Be good. It's good to talk to these guys. We learned a lot and got a lot of good baseball stuff going on in this area. Yeah,
it's going to be fun. We have a little bit of Little League. And then we move up into some of the club baseball with Cavaiani baseball. And you're going to hear a lot of information about both of these programs. And I think it's going to be a well-informed look at baseball in the area now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's way more complex than even a few years ago. There's a lot of different options for kids. And these guys, we feel, I don't know what's right and wrong, but in our eyes, they're both doing it the right way and come from a great place. So I think you folks are going to enjoy the interview and just two folks that, like we always say, they live in this area. They're from northeastern Wisconsin. They're our neighbors doing these kinds of things. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a good weekend, Joe? A good week?
I did, Tosh. Boy, nothing super exciting to tell people. I just battled weather all week, I kind of felt like. But how about you? Anything stick out for you?
It was a good week. I guess what sticks out is we still have some teams moving into the level 4 of football playoffs. Kimberly has moved on. Kaukauna has moved on. Wrightstown, Lux Casco has moved on as well. That's exciting for those schools to continue into that level 4 and try to make it to the state tournaments, championship games, I should say.
In a lot of cases, this is the best football weekend for games. It's similar to the NFL. That the conference championship game usually is better than the Super Bowl in most cases, and that's the case here as well.
It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a grind. Kimberly's still the top dog out there until you knock them off. They're the favorites, but this is going to be a good game this week.
Absolutely. We've kind of been saying all year, you and I, as we've kind of talked about this. You just say, is Kimberly okay? Are they good? And you've said it the whole year until somebody beats them. They're the best, and they continue the march on.
I want to shout out my wife's hometown of Reedsville. They're moving on to the round 4. They just won a state championship. Was it last year or the year before? So they're trying to make a second trip to state here, and they're playing down in Bigfoot, which is down the southern part of the state. So kind of fun for a small community like that, all the way in Division 7, but still good football, and small town football is always fun.
There's really nothing better than that, right? I mean, it's what's in a small town? A church, a bar, a school, and a football field, right?
Right. And then we have to also congratulate Xavier girls volleyball.
Yeah, second in a row.
State champion in a row. Yeah. 2-peats. So that's awesome for them. Congratulations to them moving through a fantastic season. I mean, they really dominated this season. So,
Tosh, I saw a stat, AppletonSports.com. Actually, Paul wrote this. The Hawks finished the season 45-3
Yeah.
And they ended on a 12-match winning streak. They didn't drop a single set in those 12 games. That includes the state tournament, the semifinals, the state championship. They rolled over the weekend. Friday 3-0, Saturday 3-0. Just total domination. So that's a powerhouse
incredible
team. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What a great run for them for the last 2 years. So congratulations to Xavier girls, and hope they can continue their successful run. All right. Well, I suppose, Joe, it's time to get this talking baseball started. And you guys are going to hear a couple great interviews, and we hope you enjoy. And always remember to continue to subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, and check out YouTube as well, as we have some great content on YouTube as well.
No, absolutely. As Big Cat likes to say, a twofer for the people. Got 2 great interviews. All right, Tosh, want to play a little old look at new? Take a look at northeastern Wisconsin from maybe a little quirky perspective on our part.
You bet. It's always good to look at some history, whether it's northeast Wisconsin, whether it's the United States or the world. We always find something.
What did you find out this week, Tosh? What caught your eye?
I'm going back to 1934, November 7th. It's not quite Wisconsin, but it's close. It's 1934, November 7th. The Detroit Lions and the New York Giants had the last scoreless tie game in the NFL. 0-0 tie.
Interesting. No kidding.
Yeah, I was like kind of shocked that there was a 0-0 tie in the NFL.
Absolutely. Yes, that had to be an exciting game to go to indeed, right?
Yeah, exciting game to watch, exciting game to go to. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Joe? What do you got?
Well, Tash, I don't know. Mine was, I guess at times was exciting, but then when I look back at it, I kind of quiver. But something that caught my eye this week as I was kind of perusing Facebook and brought back a memory. And I thought, you know what, this is perfect for an old look at new. And that's Charlie Pond's Sports Shop in downtown Appleton. Back, well, guys much younger than us certainly aren't going to remember it. But among many things that I remember from that sports shop, one was, do you remember, and you being a school teacher now and how things have changed, remember how we had to go there and get our gym uniform, the reversible blue and white shorts and shirt? And that was, we had to change into that every gym class.
Right. This changed a little bit. Oh. It's definitely not doing that anymore. In fact, some of the kids don't even change into gym clothes. They just wear what they wear. But yeah, I remember those because it had, the blue and white reversible shorts and shirt. Absolutely.
Yeah, Charlie Pond's, that was a special place right on downtown College Avenue. The mall wasn't built then and things were certainly way different, but you'd get your baseball glove there. I mean, it was a good old fashioned, I don't know, I always had an image of like one of those old fashioned small town hardware stores, except that it was a sporting goods store. That
was a fantastic place. I think I got my first baseball glove there.
I definitely did.
That was an awesome place for sure.
No doubt. Right on College Avenue. Charlie Pond Sports Shop. So that was cool, Tosh. I love this segment. So that was an old look at new. Happy to say we're joined by Kevin Kostelecky from Appleton Little League. Kevin, it's a pleasure to have you. I haven't seen you in a while, so it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Joe. You too.
As president of Little League, I know you've probably seen every hour of the day and night out at one of your fields.
We haven't had many 6 a.m. games, but something we might try.
You've been a president here for quite a number of years now. How many years have you been at the helm?
It's kind of hard to count the years, but since early 2016, I've been president of the league. Coming up at the end of this month is election time, and we'll figure out who's going to run this thing for 2 more, if it's me or somebody else.
Yeah, well, very good. It's certainly good hands. I mean, a lot of great things have happened since 2016. First and foremost, I mean, looking at the picture, I mean, the fields out at not only at USA, but at Palisades Park. I mean, you've invested a lot in the fields, that the kids that go through your program, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but they play at some really, really nice fields. It's not your local elementary school.
Yeah, a lot of programs have, 1 or 2 fields, 1 or 2 complexes. We're kind of scattered all over the city of Appleton and Village of Fox Crossing. We do take a ton of pride with our fields at USA Youth Sports Complex. Since 2015, 2014, we've put a lot into it. We've put, actually a little bit before that, we put lights up at Kratzer Field so we can play at night. We've got 2 fantastic scoreboards that were donated by Shields Sports, and both construction donated a lot of labor and time for those. Just gorgeous, beautiful scoreboards. But, batter's eyes in the outfields, roofs on the dugouts, sponsor signs in the outfields, new batting cages. I mean, we continue to improve the facility any way we can. One of the major improvements at the end of 2019 was the addition of 10-row high bleachers behind each of Gromer and Kratzer fields there, with some safety netting over the top of that. Dr. Gromer was kind enough. He and his late wife had donated, a large amount of money. We were looking to build a third field out there with that, but we had a more immediate need to make the fields we have safer and better. So, rather than looking at having mediocre long-term, we looked at making a better short-term solution with that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great, and certainly shout out to Dr. Gromer and Nick and Christy. I mean, they've had kids go through the program. No, it looks wonderful out there. It's a great walk through there. It's a terrific experience as a parent to sit out there and be protected. But, you mentioned all the amenities out there, and to me, one of the nicest things out there is actually just the playing surface. It's a really nice, well-maintained playing surface.
Yeah, credit to our volunteers, namely the ones who don't want to be mentioned, Steve Peters, Jeff Murray, and a whole ton of others. We look to always improve the surface. We're considering artificial field or artificial turf for the infields at both of those fields.
Excellent.
Just because the amount of work it takes from volunteers and even some paid labor, it's just hard to find and hard to keep up. And, the season it seems like it's a quick season. Once it starts, it's almost in the blink of an eye done. It's not like that during the season, but once it's over, it feels like it's gone in a hurry. And, to save on rain dates and to add more games there is really something we want to do.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I know in the NFL they talk about, playing surfaces being grass and all that, but when you get to the high school level, little league level, just because, especially up in this part of the country, it just makes sense to have turf. You guys, I mean, the juggling you have to do to make a schedule, play out in April and May in Wisconsin is a juggling act every year. It's difficult to do.
Yeah, and to finish before the 4th of July is always a challenge too. So,
sure.
We want some time in between the end of the season and city tournaments, but, we really don't, we want to make sure people have the 4th of July holidays to themselves and,
right.
Aren't playing some regular season ball at that time.
Yeah, and that's nice. It's one of the nice things about Little League, and maybe one of the differentiating things between like Little League and say travel baseball is the fact that if you're a family, the schedule is a consideration. I don't think you guys necessarily play Memorial Day. You have, like you said, you try to have the season finished up by the 4th of July, and families do vacation, typically in July and August. So that's nice.
Yeah, we try to make it predictable. We major and rookie levels, we play Mondays and Wednesdays. T-ball and minor levels, we play Tuesdays, Thursdays. But we try to keep Friday through Sunday for the families. A lot of travel baseball, travel softball happens during those times too. Outside of the first the first Saturday of May where we have opening day, which we just brought back this past year. We try to keep those weekends free. That doesn't mean that we don't want to use the fields on the weekends. We're trying to look to improve the fields to at USA to make them a 7-day-a-week usage rather than mostly just 4 days right now.
Sure. No, that'd be great. You gave me an idea when you were talking. We went out, Tosh and I, my co-host, went out to discover Sports Night a couple of weeks ago. And we brought our mobile equipment with us. I think maybe we'll have to come out to opening day of Little League with our mobile equipment and get some interviews and take in what's really a Well, to me, the highlight of the year is opening day. It's a lot of fun. You guys do a nice job with that event.
Yeah, it's something we take pride in. It's something to, give the season a kickstart right off the bat, and really inject some energy into it right away. It's a lot of work to do, and we've had it at Memorial Park for rookie, minor, major levels. T-ball, we have a Palisades Park in Fox Crossing, but if we get three or four fields out at USA, we really want to bring that opening day experience there to, somewhere number one, it's our home. And number two, it's just more of an intimate setting. Memorial Park, the fields while they're adjacent to each other, there's a lot of distance in between each. And, I think having the fields really close together really adds to the baseball, softball environment. It just, you feel the energy from the field next door to you when there's cheering, and it just electrifies it.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, let's talk a little bit about Little League. It's been around since 1958. You have more than just, the boys, traditional Little League. You have girls softball. You mentioned a little bit, you have T-ball. Go through a little bit maybe of what, a kid can start pretty young, girl or boy, and advance through the program right until they're a teenager, basically, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So baseball is co-ed. It's, not just a boys program like traditionally some people have thought. We've had girls play at the minor level, maybe one or two at the major level too. It was really interesting for opening day. We had in our minor baseball program a female pitcher, a female umpire, and a female manager all at the same time at the same game.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I thought that was a really cool thing. It wasn't planned, just something that happened. So, yeah, our baseball program is co-ed. It runs ages 4 to 12, the date determined as of how old that player is, August 31st of that playing year. So baseball can start a little bit sooner. Girls softball is also league ages 4 to 12. But based on December 31st of the year prior. So you could have twin boys and girls, and if the girl's playing softball, she might have to wait 9 months to play, depending on the ages. But, we've had junior level, senior level programs in the past for ages 13 on up. We've talked about the possibility of bringing back junior softball for ages 13 and 14 in the best of the 12s. Especially with the middle schools, having issues with losing fields this past year, there may be an opportunity for us to do girls softball at the higher ages, just something in between where we are in high school.
Now, there's several opportunities within that. So a kid hypothetically could play, like you said, Tuesday, Thursday, maybe practice 2 days a week. Other kids that maybe want a little bit more, that you have all-star teams, that can compete. And ultimately could even go to the World Series that we see on TV. But there's a path through your program to do that as well.
Yeah, Little League is, we're the only Little League in Northeast Wisconsin. Kakano was with us for about 3 or 4 years recently. But in all of Northeast Wisconsin, Appleton Little League is the official only Little League. In District 5, our nearest leagues are Anago and Rhinelander, Merrill. But yeah, we've got opportunities for T-ball ages 4 to 6, rookie ball where we use pitching machines for both baseball and girls softball, ages 6 to 8. Minor baseball, softball, ages 8 to 10 or 11. And major baseball and softball, typically ages 11 and 12, but some of the best 10s also play there as well. So,
sure.
Really opportunities for kids at any age. And, it's, where does Little League fall? It's kind of, somewhere between recreation ball, where it's more of an introduction, very limited, 1 hour practice a week, 1 hour game a week is what they do typically for seven weeks or so. We typically offer 2 games a week, 10 games for T-ball, 12 games for rookie, 13, 14 to 15 regular season for minor and major. And for rookie on up, we have end of season tournaments at the end of June for those programs as well, where we crown city champions. We've got trophies and things for even the rookie players as well.
Sure.
And then, of course, the path to the World Series for Little League. We have state tournaments for 10 and 11-year-old programs for baseball and 10-year-old programs for softball. But for the major division, or the Little League division, which it's called, for both baseball and softball, those go all the way to the World Series. Little League in South Williamsport and softball, I believe, in Greenville, North Carolina, is where their World Series is. We've actually had a couple teams for softball reach the World Series. In 1999, we had a team place third in the World Series, and
nice.
And there was one more previous to that went as well, I believe.
Oh, that's awesome. I remember, and maybe it was Babe Ruth now that I think about it, but I thought there was a team right around in maybe the 80s sometime that advanced pretty far. I don't know if they made the World Series or not, but it was pretty far. One of the interesting things with the Newsa-Cast that Tosh and I have found when we talk to different athletes is every single one of them have played multiple sports. And I think that's one of the great things, that the way you have Little League set up, it is set up nice that kids can play multiple sports. I don't know where, I'm sure you've seen all points of view of people and how they stand on that issue. But I think at the end of the day, when the really successful athletes are saying, I played multiple sports, I can't help but think that's kind of the way it should be.
Yeah. I love multiple sport athletes. I did it myself, and the Bo Ryan, some of his best athletes and recruits were multi-sport athletes. I think it's just good to get that different coaching, use those different muscles, be around different types of games. It just, I think, builds you into an overall better athlete in person, especially at the younger ages when you can do multi-sports. We don't compete time-wise with football. For those who do want more baseball and softball, we have a second season of play during the month of August, which used to be just 9 to 12-year-old baseball for the first few years. Around, I think, 2014, 2015 is when we started that. Then we started adding more of the lower levels of baseball. And then we brought in girls softball in 2019. And of course, 2020, we had the year of COVID, where that kind of threw everything into just all up in the air. But we brought back girls second season in 2021. And, for those who do want more baseball or softball, there is that opportunity in August. It also provides opportunities for those who couldn't play in the regular season. Maybe they're doing soccer, some other sport. Maybe they moved to the area. Maybe they had injuries that prevented them from playing the regular season. Or maybe it's just for more who want to develop their skills and get more repetitions. We once had a fall ball, or a third season, we called it an S3. We call our second season S2. I never wanted anybody to play all 3 seasons, regular season, second season, fall ball. It's too much. You need a break. Play first and third season, second and third, first and second. Just don't play all 3. Right. Your body needs a break. You need to be around different. You just need a break. The other thing with that is, we don't want to repeat teams in the second season. We don't want to have the regular season teams continue on with the second season. The best athletes, the best people are going to be around different players, different parents, get different coaching. I think as an athlete, the more you can get from more coaching, both good and bad, is going to make you into a more successful athlete and, potentially a coach down the road too.
I can vouch firsthand for your S2 season. My son, Owen, it's been several years now, it went through that program. And that was, looking back on all my kids' athletic experience through their growing up years, that was one of the highlights, was that actual season. He had a great coach. It was a lot of fun. Games were played at USA, like we talked about, on nice fields. It was a really fun experience.
Yeah, recently we've had our second season out at Palisades Park and Fox Crossing. It gives us the opportunity to play on skin infields. We have 3 fields there, so we could do 6 games an evening. At USA, we're limited with 2 fields, and in one being a grass field, we can't play girls softball on it or any rookie or any t-ball on it as well. So that's kind of one of the reasons we're exploring artificial turf for the infields at USA. Mm-hmm. When we get a 3rd field there, and ultimately a 4th, I think doing artificial turf infields at that time would be a good benefit. So, yeah, second season, it gives kids an opportunity to pitch who may have never pitched. Gives kids an opportunity who might not have a parent as a coach to play shortstop. It just provides a lot of different opportunities. We don't want kids pitching, playing the same positions the whole game in second season. And just like regular season, we have continuous batting orders as well. We don't just bat the top 9 and have players sit the bench. So, we really focus regular season and second season with everybody playing a considerable amount of time.
Sure. Now, what do families need to keep in mind when it comes to the calendar? When does registration start for all of this? What should they be aware of?
So registration, we strive to get it open beginning of December. I think we're targeting first Monday of December to open that up. Registration periods run through pretty much mid-February or so for minor, major, mid-March typically for rookie and T-ball, maybe a little bit later. We haven't really nailed those down yet. But yeah, we hope to offer some off-season camps and clinics for players of all levels. We look to do a lot of coaching clinics this off-season and just get back to more of normal, going back to the COVID year of 2020. I call it our irregular regular season we had. Typically we play in May and June, and that year we had a regular season, very limited, very different, but in July and August. And that season, trying to put that together, took so much energy out of our board of directors, all volunteer board, by the way.
Sure.
About 25 individuals. We had a lot of energy taken out of us then. Of course, even spring of 2021 was the COVID numbers were high. We ended up having outdoor tryouts in April for the first time in ever or a long time, as far as I know. We lucked out with a 72-degree April day for tryouts that year. And then the very next day it is 35 degrees.
Nice.
So you just never know. But, we got off to a late start in 2021. And, this past year was just trying to get back to normal. We brought back opening day this year. And we hope to do, bigger and better next year.
Yeah, it was a weird time, wasn't it? A lot of things changed. I mean, we experienced it with the Red Smith banquet, and Tash and I have talked about it a little bit, but yeah, that kind of, hurt the banquet. I know it hurt a lot of programs. People are rebuilding, I guess one of the good things is the Newsa-Cast came out of that. So here we are.
Well, and it's changed a lot of things. I think a lot of, especially school age kids have gotten used to, being stuck in their bedrooms, being stuck behind screens. That's how they were doing right. Education for a while. And I think a lot of sports were limited or some eliminated during 2020, and bringing those back has been a challenge, and getting kids to participate has been a challenge after that. So
how have your numbers, would you say you're behind what you were before COVID as far as numbers?
I think we're pretty level set with where we are for COVID. Even during the COVID year, while we lost a lot of players during that season for whatever reasons that people had, mainly health, I think we gained a lot of players during that season as well for some other programs that didn't offer. And it wasn't something we just decided to do that year either. It wasn't just flip a coin, do we play or not play? We had, dozens and dozens of hours of discussions and working with health departments and everything else. Unlike football or wrestling or basketball, you can't get much more socially distant than baseball or softball.
Maybe golf.
So, we did it in a way that made it work. We had smaller teams. We spread people out in the dugouts. We had fans, lined up all up and down the fence lines as opposed to congregating in one area in the stands. So, numbers wise, we're pretty level set, but I think numbers in a lot of youth sports are down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of competition for baseball and softball with travel teams that want the players during the Monday through Thursday timeframe now. There's, a lot of other sports out there. Soccer is big. Lacrosse is growing,
Sure.
that,
Mm-hmm.
Being very involved with that. It's there's a lot of opportunities out there. But one thing we focus on with Appleton Little League is definitely the community aspect of it.
Yeah.
You're going to be playing with classmates, with and against classmates. The teams will never have teams, that are the Brewers, the Braves, the Cubs. We have teams that are sponsored by local businesses that have been around for a long time. JD's Drive-In, Tom's Drive-In, American Overhead Door. I mean, there's just so many businesses that have been around for, firefighters, Appleton Police, just so many businesses and so many parts of the community that, we want to keep within our program. I think it's important for this community-based organization to be supported by the community.
Yeah.
We could buy shirts and jerseys from anywhere.com and it's like, no, we're going to support local businesses.
Well, I think it's maybe your program might do it the best out of every, youth sports program is just that community feel, that community aspect. You're right. I mean, I can't go to a Tom's Drive-In without thinking about Little League or, vice versa. It's just, it's stitched into the fabric, literally into the shirts, and the firefighters, police department. I mean, these programs have been around when I played Little League going on 40 years ago. So that's pretty cool to see. And it's exactly what we're looking for in the Newsa-Cast, is just to kind of wake people up to say, hey, that's Little League. It doesn't get any more community than Little League. And we want to kind of tell that story a little bit and make people aware.
Absolutely.
Well, Kevin, it was a pleasure to have you. Like I said, we're going to have you back on, maybe after the holidays, maybe in February or March, as we kind of ramp up to the season. You can tell us the plans for opening day.
Always good catching up with you, Joe. And I think, the thing we're looking for, always is volunteers.
Yeah.
We cannot run this without all of our terrific volunteers. But, the more volunteers we get doing this, the less work it is for the few that are here.
Yeah. It's great to talk a little baseball with you. That's for sure. And now here's an interview Tosh and I had with Rick Cavaiani of Cavaiani Baseball Training. He has 2 baseball facilities located in this area, an indoor facility in Little Chute and an outdoor facility located at USA Youth Sports Complex. And we dig deep into youth baseball, what kind of training Rick does, and his philosophy on how to coach kids. Sit back and enjoy the interview. Well, it's cool to see what you're doing as well. I mean, so how long has your indoor facility been up? Over a year now.
Oh, it was supposed to be open Thanksgiving of last year, but we really didn't get open until mid-March, and I actually didn't get full occupancy until about July. But by the good graces of the state inspector, he let us get in there by March, and I still didn't even have siding on the building. It was just OSB on the outside, and he was awesome to work with. But we needed to get in there. We needed to get some winter practices going, and So we were in there. We didn't have a parking lot. It was mud, just OSB on the side of the building. It was a very challenging year, I'll say. But the building's basically done. I'm putting some new front doors on it here in the next couple of weeks, and we're doing like a little canopy roof over the front doors, and then by then we'll be completely done. But it's been a good 2.5 year process from the start to the finish. So it's been challenging.
I'll bet.
My son was in there, not for baseball. He was in there for lacrosse in the spring. Yeah. So he practiced there, and you're right. It was a mud parking lot. It was nothing on the outside, but beautiful facility inside for multiple sports, especially baseball, obviously. But yeah, it's a very nice facility. You should be definitely proud of that.
Yeah, certainly. It's everything that I envisioned. I wanted a space that was open. There was some spaces that I looked at through the community that, we could have, bought or rented, and they all had poles in the middle of them and things like that. And I wanted an open space where you can throw a ball and you can hit ground balls, and just building my own was it was the way to go. And it's versatile, with our nets. If you've been in there, we've got the nets that can slide, so the whole place can get opened up. I actually just put a basketball hoop in there. So we've got some basketball potential in there. My son, who's 8, he shoots all day long. So I kind of put it in there for him, but I've got some things in the back of my mind to do some basketball stuff. I loved basketball growing up myself. Until about 8th grade, that was probably my favorite sport until I realized I wasn't going to, go to a high level doing that. But yeah, the facility it worked out exactly how I was intended it to be. Okay. So yeah, we're very blessed, and our players, the main reason I wanted to do it was for our players. So, our players have there's a code on the door. They can go in and access it whenever they want. Because there's only so much we can do in our practices. And, to get to the levels that some of our boys want to get to, it's a 5, 6, 7 day a week thing. So this facility gives them year round ability to get in there, use the weight room, hit. We've got a hit track system in there. I use a thing called Pitch Logic, which is it's technology inside a baseball that can track their throws and velocities and all that good stuff. So that's all available to them to use in the facility. So it's been my vision, and we're almost at the finish line here with it.
So about how many players do you have right now?
It's just over 200. That's including practice players. So we've got this year we're going to have 11 teams. And then we've got, I'm trying to think the exact numbers. I think between all the age groups with practice players. So our practice players are kids that don't play on our teams. Okay. They practice their skills with us over the winter. I think there's about 47 of those. So it's in roughly 205 to 210 players is where we're at between full-time and practice players. So, which is, it's basically right in that range that I want to be. Okay. I don't want to get too big. I tell everyone, that comes in, or parents that come and sit down in my office with me, if I'm walking through the grocery store and I see a kid with my hat on, the CB hat on or the CBT hat on, and I don't know who that kid is, that's a major problem. Okay. And I've got 200 kids. I know all of them. If every kid walked past my door, I know his name. I know where he's from. I know his parents' names. But if I had another 100 or 200 or 300, I honestly could say that I don't know if I'd know everyone. So it's one of those things. I'm not trying to sell cell phones. So it's definitely a different kind of business. I do want to get to know all my players. So I can know what makes them tick and just get to know them beneath the surface. That's one of the reasons I went into coaching. I don't want to just, like an assembly line where kids just come in and they go. I want it to be a little bit more personal.
Rick, if we could just real quickly go back to your facility. I see there's a balcony in there. What do you have parents that hang out there? What do you use it for?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted it for. I like when parents stick around. So it's a viewing area. So one part of it is a player lounge. So I've got some couches up there. I've got a TV. We've got a PlayStation 5 up there. It's honestly, it's for team camaraderie. Last year, a lot of our boys on Friday nights, they just go in the facility and they just hang out. Some boys will be up watching movies. They'll be playing video games. And then some boys will be down hitting in the hit tracks, or they'll be playing catch. Some nights they're playing kickball down on the turf. So it was my vision with that space up there was give the boys an area to just hang out, whether it's before or after practice, where they can come in on a Saturday, on a Friday night and just hang out. The boys have gone there and ordered pizzas and just hung out on a Friday night. And that's exactly what I envisioned it for. But then the other side is just more, there's tables and seating, for parents to come in and hang out. Parents can bring their laptops, they can work on their laptops. We have free Wi-Fi there for them. And up there, we also have, it's like our alumni wall. We're all like our plaques where some of our players where all of our players have gone on and committed to play college ball and professional ball. So there's more things that I'm thinking about doing up there, adding some more workout things and stuff like that. But I'm trying to take it one piece at a time.
Well, it's quite a start. Looks great.
One of the things I've noticed coming through already is you really haven't even talked about baseball yet. You've talked about growing a person. And reading some of the things that you have on your website, that seems to be an important part of what you are and what you want to bring to the kids. If you could touch on that a little bit, that'd be awesome.
I mean, 100%. People ask me, do you, throughout the years, I'll be 40 years old next week, which is scary. But people say, what do you miss about your playing days? And I hated driving, I hated, the bus rides, we would bus rides from, I played at UWM, Milwaukee, and we would have bus rides to Youngstown State, to Oklahoma State, to Texas, those were the times I miss the most now, is times with your buddies and things like that, and just enjoying each other. And you look back at those times, and those are the guys that you're still friends with today. You're at those guys' weddings. And what's cool too, now that I've been coaching for so long, I go to my former players' weddings, and it's really cool to see it come full circle. I have two 12U teams, so there's 24 players, and it'll be lucky if half of those kids go all the way through and play college baseball. Right. So I want people to find value, whether they play here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I want them to find value beyond just how to hit a baseball, because a lot of people can teach how to hit a baseball, how to grip a four seamer, how to throw a changeup, but it just goes beyond that. And it kind of goes back to the model that I've decided to do, with my program, to keep it where I'm at. I was with another organization beforehand, and we got to a point where it was just too big. And I didn't like that. It just got to be very just impersonal.
Sure.
And it just wasn't what I was looking for as a coach. And I just decided to do it my own way. And it seems to be working out so far.
Yeah. I think I see a lot of organizations becoming more like factories and just pumping out the same type of player. But what I like about what you're saying is you're really, if my kids played baseball, I would be sending them to you, because you're really talking about growing the individual, and the baseball will come, like you said, but to be able to make that connection with the individual and help them grow as a person, that's a huge piece. And I think a piece we're missing in a lot of youth sports right now.
For sure. And I'm not going to say anything about anybody else, but it's just, it's the way that I've decided to do it. And there's others that do it differently. And I understand why they do it that way. You know, I've gone to several banks, you know, for the building. A lot, basically everyone said no. I also turfed my outdoor field, over at USA Youth Sports Complex, which was a whole nother, I mean, that took years off of my life just to get that done. And I get why other programs do what they do. It's just, it's not my bag, I guess. So,
Yeah.
When you cut people, you're saying no to money. And it's never been about that for me. It never will be. For me, it was about my time. It was about my freedom. It was about, I wanted to be my own boss. Mm-hmm. And my wife, bless her soul, she's our breadwinner, and she allows me to do this. So
you're doing it the right way. If we go back to your beginning of baseball, you played for the late great Bruce Erickson, didn't you, at Appleton North?
I did. So much. I would say so much of what I do as a coach is modeled after him. He did so much for me, as you know, he taught me how to be a man. He taught me, accountability. He was as good as it gets. I mean, he won 82% of his games over 30 plus years coaching, which is, I mean, if anyone knows baseball, if you win 55% of your games, you're good. 60% of your games, you're a Hall of Famer. He won 82% of his games. I mean, it's
absolutely
legendary.
Yeah. I mean, Tosh and I are 88 grads of Appleton West, and Bruce was a longtime coach there. Okay. So I mean, we've known him a long time. In fact,
you know exactly what
1,000% is just legendary. It's so good.
Yeah.
And I guess you can't really do that these days. You know,
No,
you can't. You can't.
You know, he was an amazing person. And when I coached with Corey Krieger at Lawrence University, and when we started, we were pretty young. I mean, Corey was only like 25. I was the old man at 29, and he would sit down and go to breakfast with us and just tell us why teams were beating up on us, and being blunt with us and telling us what's going on. And those are the times that, besides playing, those are the times that I really got to know him better. And man, you're right. He's one of a kind. He was, just an amazing person.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic, with Bobby Knight passing last night, he's very much in that, maybe not to that extreme, but he was in that mold.
Yeah.
He told you like it was. A lot of people didn't like him for it. And sometimes rightfully so. But, I would have taken a bullet for the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he just always told you the truth. And, at the end of the day, as a player that wanted to get better, that wanted to be the best that I wanted to be. I mean, you're sitting there at night and you're mad at him and you're brushing your teeth and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, dang it. He was right. It's like, you want to be right, but you just know that he's right. And he was just so good. He was a master psychologist.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was.
Bobby Knight v. Bruce Erickson. Where does Vegas have those odds?
Oh my gosh. I'd pay a lot of money to see those two.
That would be epic.
It
would be.
Oh,
put them in the Roman Coliseum and just let them go.
Yes. Yeah. So Bruce was by far my the biggest influence I had.
I was reading your bio a little bit on your website, Cavaiani Baseball Training, and you talk about playing in the Northwoods League a little bit, then even getting the saves record one year. That had to be quite the experience.
It was awesome. I played in that league for 3 years. My second year there, I had a really good year. Towards the end of this, kind of a story that I tell all my players too. The first time that I was, in my opinion, not the best pitcher on my team was when I went to the Northwoods League. I was picked up late by the Mankato Moondogs. A guy got hurt, so I'm literally the 12th pitcher on the team. They kind of called me, and it's like a Wednesday morning, and they're like, "Hey, we need a guy tonight to pitch in Alexandria, Minnesota." So my parents got me in the car, and we drove to Alexandria, Minnesota, and I pitched that night and did okay. And basically, then I went in the bullpen, and my job, my goal that the rest of that year was to I was the 12th guy, then I wanted to beat the 11th guy. But anyways, I remember getting to Alexandria, Minnesota. This is my first time I ever doubted myself as a baseball player, but I get there. They already had my name on the the roster sheet that they hand out to all the people, and I'll never forget looking at the rosters. And this is before the Northwoods League is huge now. Yeah. There's 28 teams or whatever. Then I think it was 8 or 10 teams. So it was the cream of the crop. I played against Max Scherzer and Ben Zobrist and guys like that. And so I get in this league, and I remember reading our roster on my team, and it was all these guys. It was like UCLA, Florida State, Texas Tech, Baylor. And then I was at the bottom of the list, and it said Rick Cavaiani, 5'10", 200 pounds, right-handed pitcher, Madison Area Technical College. And I was like, oh boy. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? And it was humbling. But I tell the boys, I went from that moment, and then, you fast forward, a year or 14 months, I set the league saves record. I gave up 2 runs the entire summer, saved 19 games out of 20 games. And my stats that year were better than Max Scherzer's, wow. which is silly to even think about because he's so much more talented than I am or ever could even think. But I had a great experience in that league. I would go and do it again. It's basically playing a professional baseball. You're just not getting paid for it. And you play every day. You're on a bus and traveling up to Thunder Bay, Canada, down to Iowa and everywhere in between. It was a blast. But I tell all my players, if you're the the 10th guy on the roster, your goal in 2 weeks is to be the 9th man, then the 8th man, and then so by the end of that year with the Moondogs, my ERA was 5, and I got it down to 4, and I think to the high 3s, and then I think my last 12 guys I faced that summer I struck out.
Wow! And
then I just kept getting better, and then the Woodchucks coach was an assistant coach at Madison College, and he had seen my stats, and then in the fall I was throwing really well, and he goes, "Hey, would you like to pitch for the Woodchucks?" The Woodchucks won the league that year. They had Ben Zobrist and everything, and I'm like, "Yeah." My parents have a campsite about 20 minutes from Wausau, so I signed with the Woodchucks, and that's the year I got the saves record. And the other, I tell everyone, when you get your opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. So Clayton Hansen, the previous year, was the Woodchucks closer. And the only reason I got the closing job is they thrust me into it because he was in the College World Series in Omaha with the University of Texas. Yep. He played for Augie Garrido at Texas. So they're like, well, we need a closer for about a week until Clayton gets back from the College World Series. And by that time I was, 4 for 4 in saves with no runs given up. And they're like, well, let's just keep Rick there. And then Clayton was actually the setup guy. So when you get your opportunities, take advantage of it. Yep. And don't relinquish it. But I can tell you honestly, Clayton was a lot better than I was. I just performed really well. He was 6'4" through 94, 95 miles an hour, and I threw 88. I just threw a lot of strikes.
So during this time, with your hopes of trying to get to the big leagues, I'm sure, are you also thinking about and kind of dreaming about what you're doing now? That you want to teach kids baseball? That baseball is going to be a part of your life somehow, some way?
No, never. So I never thought I was going to coach ever. So the Northwoods League, that year I made it to the Northwoods League All-Star game, and I was pitching. I was slated to pitch the 9th inning. We hosted the All-Star game that year in Wausau. at Athletic Park. And I'll never forget this, because this was my first realization that I wasn't going to like make it far or get drafted or anything like that. But I'm warming up in the 8th inning, and lo and behold, guess who's pitching in the 8th inning? It's Max Scherzer. So Max Scherzer played at the University of Missouri. He threw that. At the stadium on the scoreboards, you can see all the velocities every time a guy threw a pitch. So I'm in the bullpen and I'm warming up, and Tony Daniel was my catcher. He was catching me in the bullpen. Tony played at Creighton, still a friend of mine. And I'm looking up, and you can see, we're all the way down the line, but you can just see, 98 is just like, it's just a different gear, I'm like, oh my God. And so you're talking 300, 350 major league scouts there. So every pitch of that game, there's radar guns going up. And so I'm looking up, I'm like 98. I'm warming up, my fastball was like 88. I'm like, Tony, I'm like, I'm warm. I'm like, I'm going to fake an injury. I'm like, I can't go in after this. Like, how embarrassing is that going to be? He goes, dude, you got to go in. So Tony is catching me in the 9th inning. And I said, Tony, this first fastball, I'm going to let it fly. So just be, my control was my strength, but I'm like, I don't know where this first one's going to go. And I literally threw it so hard. I don't like, my arm felt like it was going to fly off my body. And as I caught the ball, I peeked back up at the radar gun in the outfield, and it was 88. But by this time, so it's the bottom of the 9th inning. It's 11:45 at night. And as I'm pitching, I'm throwing, I got 3 outs. And as I'm pitching, all the scouts are leaving. They all left. At this time, I'm like 10 for 10 in saves, haven't given up a run, and everyone's leaving. And my dad's awesome. He's a huge baseball guy. And he was sitting up there, and nobody, like, I think he said one guy's like, yeah, like, this guy's 5'10", right-handed, throws 88. Like, we want nothing to do with this guy. So, and like, my dad's like, well, what about have you seen his stats? And it just, and I get it. Professional baseball it's a lot about potential and stuff like that. So, but, and I'm finishing the inning. I was literally in tears on the mound, because it was like my first realization. I'm like, I got to start thinking about what I'm going to do when I'm done playing. Because by that time I was going into my junior year, and I'm like, man, I mean, Max Scherzer is, he's just so talented. It's just on such a different wavelength of where I was at ability wise. And then it was so cool. It was one of my cool moments with my dad. And, he always had huge, like any dad with his son, they have huge dreams for you. And I remember him coming in, and he had tears in his eyes, and he came in with a big beer, and we sat in the clubhouse for several hours and just kind of hung out, just the two of us. So that was kind of even though it was a tough moment, it was a pretty cool moment in the same sentence. So
what a great story. What a great moment.
Yeah. It was pretty neat. But then, as far as coaching, I never redshirted. So I wasn't a gifted academic person. So if it wasn't for baseball, I would have never have gone to college, to be honest. So I went to college to play baseball, and then ended up getting a degree. I stuck it out, but I never redshirted. So luckily the scholarships are 5 years.
Okay.
So I used my 5th year to get my scholarship. And so I didn't redshirt. So I was done after 4 years. So I had another year of school. So a guy that was coaching at MSOE, Milwaukee School of Engineering, was a former Milwaukee player. And he had talked to the staff, and they're like, he needed a pitching coach. And they talked to, the staff there, Duffick, and they just kind of referenced my name, and he called me. I'm like, sure, I guess. I'm like, I don't really have much else going on besides going to school. So I think I made $1,000, $500 a semester. I lost a lot of money because I lived on campus and practices were out in New Berlin West High School. So I had to drive out and lost a lot of money, but it was such an amazing experience. I was 22 years old. I think three of the boys on the staff were 23 and one of them was 25. They were MSOE guys, really, really smart academic kids, but it was really cool because how they respected me. They respected my baseball knowledge. They respected me, just as a person. And we did really well. Like the staff ERA from the previous year, we cut it like by a point and or a run and a half. And boys, I just got great feedback. And that's when I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, I could be pretty good at this, or turn this into some sort of a job or a living. And that's kind of what happened. And I was just there for 1 year, and then I moved back to Appleton. I worked at Shields for about 2.5 years. And while I was doing that, I did a ton of baseball lessons out at Players Choice. My clientele grew really fast. And then I jumped on actually with Corey for a number of years, almost 8 years. I was with him with Panther Baseball. And we grew it. It was awesome. Corey's, Corey, his personality is just second to none. Yeah. He's funny, charismatic, and we just built a really great, fun program. And then it just got to a point. I had my second baby. My daughter Kaylee was born in 2017, and I was just working a lot and a lot of nights and weekends. And my wife needed some help at home, and I actually got into teaching. I went into elementary school special ed / super sub. So I was in Neenah and then Appleton, which is now Dunlap Elementary School by Appleton West. Did that for 2 years while I started CBT. Yep. And that was 2017, 2018. And now my wife and I are in, $2 million in debt, and here we are. So it happened pretty fast.
It sounds like you have a lot of where your passion comes from is obviously baseball, but again, you keep coming back, and I keep hearing that, growing and respect, and it's not just all about baseball. You talked about the respect you receive from the coaches, and you continue to bring up that theme. And again, it's just super refreshing to hear that it's not just about baseball. It's about growing individuals who are going to be productive kids and productive young men outside of the baseball field.
I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, it takes me back to Bruce Erickson. When I think of Bruce, I don't think about him, teaching me how to hit. I don't think about him teaching me how to field a ground ball. That's not even in the back of my mind. It's how he, it's about how you go about your business. It's how you go about, shaking somebody's hand, looking somebody in the eye. That's as crazy as it sounds. It's becoming obsolete. Yeah. Kids these days don't have confidence. Right. I go every time a kid comes into my office, I make sure that I reach out my hand to shake their hand, and heads go down and they don't shake your hands. And I talk about it. The first thing I say, and it's so cool too, because the parents are like, "Thank you." But sometimes I say to the parents, I say, "You have to do that too." Yeah. It's like, so it's a two-way road. But our kids are struggling, mm-hmm. and I think God has given me the unique ability to speak out. I think I have a loud voice. I'm somebody that doesn't mind people not liking them. So I have a very thick skin. I come from a family that is like that. We're very comfortable in our own skin, and it's helped me in my career. I think some people gravitate towards me because of that. Some people don't. And that's okay. That's okay. But I know that I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I sleep pretty well at
That's
night.
a good skill to be able to understand yourself, right? You know who you are, and you just go about business doing it that way. That's at the end of the day, that's the best way to go about life, I think.
Yeah, it's, being authentic is important these days. I think there's a lot of, we call them keyboard warriors, and a lot of people that, sit behind screens and stuff like that. We're trying to teach kids to a little bit of that old school, shake somebody's hand, look them in the eye, have conversations with them. And those kids, if they don't make it to pro baseball, with how increasingly, less that's becoming with kids, those kids that are able to do that, think about those sales jobs, that are out there, that kid that shakes that hand and looks them in the eye. There's not as many of those these days. So you become much more sought out. And you can have a pretty successful career just by doing those things. Those things go a long way. It's amazing
you say that. That's the exact message I teach my kids as well, is the skills. Because honestly, I was never, there's a lot of disillusional parents out there. You got about as close to playing professional baseball as you possibly could. And it was a really, really hard road. My kids never were going to play professional sports, but I want them to learn the lessons that you just talked about, and what Tasha's been talking about. I mean, at the end of it, that's really, as parents, that's really what I believe what you should want for your kids, and not be just, like you said, 0.1% of the kids ever make a professional contract, let alone the big leagues. It's just basically nobody does that.
Less than 1% of high school baseball players get a Division I baseball scholarship.
Yeah.
Less than 1%.
Right. At Cavaiani baseball, how are the parents? I mean, parents are paying a decent amount of money to play baseball. It's great value in the fact that they're getting great lessons, they're the environment, all of that. But from a parent's perspective, it's a bill that they have to pay. Sometimes some of them feel a little bit entitled because they're writing that check. How are the parents? Is that something that you actively have to address? What is your take on the parents? I guess it's a delicate subject, I know.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job here, laying out, what our expectations are. But every year there's going to be one or two. 10 years ago, it was actually worse 10 years ago as far as my individual dealings with it. Maybe because we got a little bit too big. But really it hasn't been all that bad. We have people leave every year, but usually we have more people that come every year. I don't stress about it. I like to sit down with people in my desk and have conversations with them. But it's, with my program, we talk about, we have this thing called #HIT. Obviously HIT for baseball, but it's humility and integrity and toughness. And the toughness can be, mental, emotional, physical, all that kind of stuff. But that's in regards to parents too. And the humility aspect of it, the reason why I chose H as the first one, the humility is, and it's hard in this setting because people are paying, and they're paying, premium money for this. So when you pay premium money, it's the tendency is like you're all about you and you're all about your son. But what we ask people is to take the opposite approach, is to take that humble approach and think about others before ourselves. And every year you're going to run into one or two or three that, they don't take that approach. And usually we don't ask those people back, or they don't come back on their own, and that's okay. And then we try to find some other people that fit that style that we do and that we ask. But like anything else, people are going to come, people are going to go, and it's okay. It's not something that I lose sleep over anymore. It used to. It just doesn't bother me.
Right.
Anymore.
No, that's great. That's great. Hopefully that whole situation is correcting itself a little bit. It's at times it gets out of hand in certain sports. But like you said, I think at the end, really, it is only that 1 or 2% or 1 or 2 really parents that make it miserable for everybody else.
Yeah, it's really not a high percentage. Okay. It really isn't. And it's one of those things that, that 1 or 2%, it feels like it's more, but it's really not, because that 1 or 2% can it can bog you down, only if you let it. And I've learned to not let it anymore. And it's my 20th year in coaching. This will be my 15th year in club baseball. Wow. So I like to think I've seen it all. I haven't, but I'm actually the second longest tenured club baseball guy in the state. The only guy that has been doing it longer than me now is RJ Fergus down with the hitters in Racine and Kenosha. So I've been around a while. I'm kind of used to it. And you just kind of let it roll off your shoulders.
How are the numbers in club baseball, would you say, overall? I know they ebb and flow through the years.
They're huge. They're huge. It's definitely grown. When Corey started Panthers in 2009, I came on the following year. There was 3 teams, and then we grew it to 6, and then we got it all the way up to 24, I believe. When we started, we were basically the second one in the state. And then by 2012, there was probably 8 or 9. Now there's 30, probably, 35. Out of those 35, there's probably, 15 legitimate ones with, facilities and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the numbers are huge. It's definitely big business, and you can make money doing it, for sure. But it's not the route that I'm looking to take. Obviously, we need to make money here. We need to pay for our building. We need to pay for our turf, and obviously we got to pay for our coaches and stuff like that. But that is not our main intention, certainly.
So player comes in, we'll say, this time of year, what does it look like for a player for practicing, and, give us like a little progression?
Yeah. So right now we're kind of in our dull period, basically from like the middle of October until Thanksgiving. We don't schedule anything. So, some programs promote that they practice year round. I would never do that. Like major league players don't play and practice year round. It's very bad for your body. It's bad for your mind. It's bad for your arms. Yep. I also do it for myself, for my coaches, so we can get away. This is our time of year where we hit the reset button, so to speak. But we start our winter practices the week after Thanksgiving. Okay. And then our high school kids go at least twice a week, all the way through the second week in March. And then they go back to high school practices. And then we start with the 14U and under a lot once the high school kids go back to high school practice in March. The 14U and under also start right after Thanksgiving, but it's like once a week. And then we kind of progress them as we go, because so many of the younger kids play multiple sports. We want all of our kids to play multiple sports. The only time I've ever asked or suggested a kid not to play another sport is if he would be a sophomore, junior, or senior in high school, and he was a potential scholarship baseball player, and he was playing 3.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, hey, at this point, you probably gotta get rid of 1 and play 2, focus on 2, so that you have one of those other off seasons to train, to either play, fall baseball or to train for baseball in the winter. Yeah. Like, for example, a lot of kids are baseball, basketball, football. So if you were baseball, basketball, then you could play fall baseball. If you were baseball, football, then you could play football, and then you'd have all winter long to train for your baseball to get ready. So I've seen it work both of those ways. It is really difficult this day and age to play all 3 and still get a baseball scholarship. I'm not saying it's not impossible, because there's some kids that are just very blessed. Right. But it is difficult. I have kids that at 12 or 13 just play baseball. I don't suggest them to do that. I don't think it's healthy to do that. But sometimes it's people's own decisions. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's healthy. But yeah, we like to have all of our kids play multiple sports. We've got a lot of wrestlers, hockey players, basketball kids. And I tell them in the winter, that's priority. So whenever we have a baseball practice, if you don't have your winter sport and you can make it, come. If you can't, that's fine.
Okay.
And we just ask that, if there's a tournament and a practice, in April, May, and June, that we're the priority.
Right.
That's all that we ask.
So actual games, I mean, you see the facility at USA, you have your indoor facility, and then obviously a whole bunch of facilities around the Midwest. So how many games are these kids playing? How much travel is really involved?
It depends on the age group. The 14 and under kids will play about 40, less 40 or less. The high school kids, we're limited with the high school kids because they have high school ball. So we can't do anything with them. They can do individual lessons with them during the high school season, but I can't do like a structured CBT practice with them during the high school season because it would be a WIAA violation. Yep. They can still come in and use the facility on their own, but I can't have a structured practice. But so we'll play in 6 or 7 tournaments from middle of June to the end of July. So that's about 30 to 35 games, depending on how far you would get in tournaments. So that combined with their high school, it's about 50 games, 55 games, which I think is plenty.
Okay.
There's some, you go down south, they're playing 125.
Wow.
Which, that's just silly.
That's a minor league season. What are some of your favorite facilities around the Midwest?
My favorite is Grand Park in Indianapolis. It's really cool.
Yeah, good call. Love that place.
I really like the area down there too. I forget the city that's just south of there. It's a really beautiful city. It's very expensive, but it's really, really pretty city. But yeah, I mean, I remember that my first time going there, I'm driving through these really tall corn field, and all of a sudden you just 30 turf baseball fields and soccer fields. And have you seen those stone buildings with the football and soccer fields in it? I can't even imagine. I know what my building costs. I can't even imagine the kind of money that is put into that.
Yeah, that place is nuts. I spent. One of my boys was a lacrosse player, and I officiated that sport. So we would every year go down and play in a lacrosse tournament. They used all those. They had like 36 or something turf fields going. I mean, there were hundreds of teams down there, and I'd ref all day. He'd play all day, and you end the day and go to Top Golf after. Because you're right, the area around there, and that it just grows every single year. I mean, we started going there when that facility was somewhat new, so it wasn't quite as built up. But then over the years, it was because I had a son that played soccer as well, same thing. And those fields are just pristine. I can't believe what the field crew must be like, the grounds crew.
I believe the Colts, don't the Colts practice there?
The Colts and the Pacers. I think the Pacers have a facility there as well. Yeah. So, yeah,
that's probably
I like spot. It. Good call. Well, baseball season just ended with the World Series, and you're getting geared up for the start of the season. So we've enjoyed this, Rick. We've learned a ton. We'll have you on again, I think, a little bit later, closer to the season, when we really start talking about baseball in 2024. But people certainly can go to your website, and I know you have a social media presence too, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
check us out. Yeah, we're looking for, we have rental space in the facility.
Yeah.
We have our turf field out at USA, that can be used and rented by all entities, baseball, softball, a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna, I'm actually looking to purchase some land next to the facility and make a turf field right next to the facility. There's a lot of, I never stop. My wife always tries to hit the stop button on me, but there's always something going on in my head. So there's always plans. So there's more coming.
You bring up actually an interesting point about that turf field at USA. I mean, you're somewhat of a lifesaver at some of these springs in Wisconsin. I mean, it's tough to play. having a turf infield, you can get games in, and I'm sure your phone rings off the hook for that place. And
it's amazing. I mean, for me personally, I don't have to drag dirt. I don't have to get chalk or clay. All I have to do is make sure that the correct mound is on the field and that the bases are in the correct base slot. So just the aesthetic of it is it's amazing. And we host tournaments out there. I've had every tournament I've had for, this is the third year. Half of our tournaments next year are already full. Wow. So every tournament that I've had besides 10U and younger has all been full. And we have teams from Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, Minneapolis, all coming into the area. So if you build it, they will come, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, not only for you, but also for the community as well, to be able to bring these teams in and experience Appleton. I mean, at one time we were a baseball city, huge baseball city. Oh, yeah. I
was a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
I was Appleton Little League, Babe Ruth, we won our Babe Ruth teams. We won state every year. And I was on the 99 team. We went to the Babe Ruth World Series in Abbeville, Louisiana. It was incredible. And then I played Legion ball with the Rebels. We were my sophomore year and junior, we were runners up, and my senior, we won state up in Marinette. We were state champions. So we had great baseball. We still have great baseball.
Still do, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
Is there still Babe Ruth? I know there's not in this area, but is there still Babe Ruth out there?
There is. There's one up north. I can't remember if it's Wausau or Merrill. There's one up there, but there's not many.
Okay. That's too bad. That's a great memory, isn't it? Babe Ruth baseball. That was big time.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome. But yeah, like even Little League, there's Appleton, and then Wausau, and then there's like a couple in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
and that's it. Like even Kaukauna even got rid of the charter with Little League 2 years ago.
We sat down with Kevin Kostelecky of Appleton Little League, and he talks about that there aren't many Little Leagues anymore either. Yeah, the landscape has changed, but like Tosh has said a couple of times, and I completely agree with him. Things do change, but we really like your message. We like the way you're doing things. I mean, that as a parent, that's what we want for our kids, is that we want somebody teaching our kids that have the values and philosophy that you have. And that's you should be commended for that in our eyes.
Yeah, I know Kevin well too. And I want to say that the majority of our kids that are in Appleton that play for CBT also play Appleton Little League.
Yeah. That's great.
I want kids to play Appleton Little League.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. The more baseball, the better. So there's programs, competitors of mine that don't let kids play other leagues. I think I don't know why, but we have kids that play CBT and for their local leagues. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's only healthy.
Well, and that speaks to exactly what we were just talking about. I don't see anything wrong with that as well. Both different experiences, both life experiences. Like we've been talking about this whole conversation. I mean, the things that we remember, the things that the Bruce Ericksons have taught us, it's not how to ground how to pick up a ground ball or hit a curveball or whatever. It's about your buddies, and it's about your teachers and your coaches that are, those are the life lessons, and both offer that identical experience. So that's, both of you guys are doing great things, and we appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you guys for doing this too. This is fantastic. Growing just sports in Northeast Wisconsin is, I'm all for that, obviously. So anything I can do to help you guys, just let me know.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your message. It's been fantastic.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Tosh, it's that exciting time again when it's the Red Smith Banquet Throwback time. And, well, Tosh, we go back to the year 2000. We had just survived Y2K. Thank God the world didn't end. And because of that, we were graced in Appleton, Wisconsin with one of my favorite baseball players ever to play, Hall of Famer, just a unique personality, a unique body shape, number 34 for the Minnesota Twins. And I can't pronounce his name like the announcer always did, but Kirby Puckett, man. Kirby Puckett.
Wow. Absolutely. I mean, he was an electric player. He was fun to watch. He would, literally run through walls. He was absolutely in World Series. He was absolutely incredible. Just a fun player. We were lucky because he came the year after Paul Molitor. Molitor was in 99 and then Kirby Puckett in 2000. Back-to-back years of just incredible baseball players to be able to be seen at the Red Smith Awards banquet. This is a guy who made the most out of what he had, and he had a lot of skills. He didn't look like the prototypical baseball player, but he definitely was an amazing baseball player.
He gave guys like me hope, man. Shaped like that, he was awesome. You're right. He was so uniquely shaped, but at the same time, he was very, very light on his feet, quick player. Like you said earlier, he did run through a wall to catch a fly ball in the World Series. He was very, his agility was as good as anybody, but his stroke, the way he could hit the ball was just, Kirby passed away young, and that was super sad. He was only 45 years old, and same thing kind of happened to another great hitter in that era, Tony Gwynn. He was only 54. We lost two of our, childhood idols, two of the best hitters through our, the 80s and 90s, left this earth too early, but gosh darn, there were some great hitters.
Right. And, Kirby was just like the nicest guy possible as well. Had a huge smile on his face. If you remember Kirby, 1995, he had his jaw broken, and 96, he was hitting 344 in the Grapefruit League, and woke up one morning and he couldn't see out of his right eye with glaucoma, and went through several surgeries and couldn't repair it, and had to retire in July of that year of 1996. Yeah.
When we met Kirby in 2000, he could have been a bitter guy for sure. It sucks what happened to him. It was a freak accident, but he wasn't like that. In fact, one of my favorite pictures that I own is Kirby. And back in 2000, I had longer dreads back then, and Kirby took a liking to my dreads. And there's somebody captured a photo of him pointing out, his likeness of my dreads, I guess, in that photo, which I cherish to this day.
Yeah, great guy. Great. It's going to be a great interview. You guys are going to love it. And, if you like this, remember, go on YouTube on Sundays and you get the full interview. And continue to like and subscribe to all your social networks for us, and enjoy.
Red Smith Sports Awards Banquet Throwback.
The Red Smith Award, of course, goes to someone who has made some unique contributions to sport in Wisconsin, and also epitomizes the great values that Red Smith exhibited.
Let's give a Red Smith welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's Miller a Nice Guy Award recipient, Mr. Kirby Puckett.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't think it's really fair for me to come up here after Lee Rimmel because, I heard earlier that he'd do anything for you. And we were in the reception downstairs earlier, and he was telling me, I said, can I just go see a Packers game, just 2 tickets? And he told me no. So I talked to John, and John said he'll give me all the Bucks tickets I want, so I think I'm going to the Bucks games. That's okay, Lee. I'd like to thank the Red Smith Committee, really. It's an honor for me to be here. I think we've been trying to get me here, I think, for the last 6 years. And I'd like to congratulate Billy Smith because he's the one that got me to do this. He bugged me for 6 years, and finally I got tired of Smitty, so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I'm happy that I came, really. This is a pleasure, and it's an honor for me to be here. But I can honestly tell you that I enjoyed every single moment that I was on the field playing baseball. You always saw me smiling, whether I struck out 4 times or whether I got 4 hits. I was always the same. I never let the game of baseball change me. You have to understand that fame is fleeting. You could be here today and it could be gone tomorrow. So I think you have to treat people how you want people to treat you. I'd like to congratulate Larry, too, on being in the Hall of Fame for the Packers. That's really great. You played 162 games, huh? 1 baseball season. Wow. I still love you, Larry. Smarter than me. Throughout my whole life, I was told I wasn't going to be this. I was too short, I was too this, I was too that, I was too this. But as you can see, I just kept telling myself that I could do whatever it was I wanted to do. My first thing I wanted to do in life, like I said, was play baseball. I was going to give myself till I was 25 years old. If I wasn't in the big leagues at 25, I was going to be a police officer. My major in college was criminal justice. If that didn't work out, I was going to be a garbage man. And I was going to be the best damn garbage man you've ever seen. Whatever I wanted to do in life, I did it. People told me I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, like I said earlier. I made it to the big leagues in 2 years. You know, in the great organization, the Twins, that I'm very, very proud to say that I wore 1 uniform throughout my whole career. And there's not many guys that can say that these days. But I've never been a person to take all the credit for the things that I achieved. I had great teammates. I had great people in the front office. Mr. Lowell Preeb used to be our traveling secretary. Lowell took care of myself and my wife Tanya and my kids, and now he married Wendy, and he's rich now. So, boy, is he smarter than me or what? I had to play baseball for 12 years and get all this money, and now my wife is rich, and I'm still here standing in front of you, don't have nothing. I got this suit, and that's it. I have some crazy teammates. I got to play with some great guys. All my life, I wanted to play with 2 guys in baseball. I wanted to play with 3 guys, actually. I'm not just saying that because I'm here in Milwaukee. I wanted to play with Paul Molitor. Well, Molly finally came over to the Twins. As you know, yeah, you can clap for him. He was great. He was one of my heroes, really. I wanted to play with Dave Winfield. When he came over, he got his 3,000 hit in the Twins uniform. I was proud about that. And I wanted to play with Robin Yount. I never got the opportunity. Every time we played the Brewers here, you guys are traded on me. You're in the National League now, but I'm not mad at you now. I'm cheering for you now. I am one of the few people in this room that's going to miss County Stadium tremendously. I hit 363 in my career at County Stadium. Don't tear it down and make it a parking lot. My family and I will move in there. I love it, really. I live outside of my ice house, my fish house. I swear I won't move, I promise. My life has taken a tremendous change, but people thought that I would cry or point fingers. My mom and dad always told me that when I was a kid to stand up proud. You know, always believe, find something you believe in and feel very strongly about it. Stand up and let people know how you feel. At my press conference, I told everybody, I said, don't be sad. And if you cry, let there be tears of joy, not tears of sadness. I got to live out my dream ever since I was 5 years old. I got to play 12 wonderful years in the big leagues. I got to do way more things than I ever thought I'd do. And this is coming from a kid who came from nothing, who grew up to be something. But through the whole time, I never changed. And that's what I tell people I come in contact with. Don't ever change. You can be whatever you want to be. Believe strongly. Find something you can do. Put your heart into it. That's the way you succeed. All these people sitting up here, and all of you all, we're all successful. You know why? Because we believe in what we do. Whatever it is we do, you believe in it strongly. If you, like I said, if I was going to be a garbage man, I was going to be the best damn garbage man in the world. Smiling, picking up your garbage, how you doing, looking for those presents for Christmas and stuff like that. But But I was going to be happy. I was going to be proud doing it. You love me. I never miss. Never called in sick to work. Never been sick a day in my life. Never, ever. Never missed a game. I'd like to congratulate all the recipients tonight, really. That's really special honors you guys got today. You guys should be proud of yourselves. Now you're going to the next level in life. College, it's a breeze, no problem. Go to class when you want, do what you want to do. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Just don't go to the University of Minnesota unless you want to. They'll do your homework for you. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I didn't go there. All I can say is life is wonderful. We're all blessed. Enjoy yourself. Just remember this, procrastination is the thief of time. Don't talk about, I should have done this or I should have done this. If you got something you want to do it. Tomorrow's not promised to any of us. Thank you all for having me today. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you all so much. Good.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it's time for that segment that we try to get right, and most of the time we do, but it's the forgotten and never forgetting. So, Joe, what's forgotten for you?
Well, Tosh, it gets me every single year. It's forgotten, and I certainly have to get to a point where it's never forgotten, and that's my preparation for cold weather. Being a mail carrier here, especially whatever it was last Monday or Tuesday when that 4 inches of snow hit us, it was a long day that day. I was slightly ill-prepared, kind of prepared, but not totally prepared for that day. And I quickly realized that I have a couple of things I need to do before the weather turns drastically cold. And preparing for cold weather gets me every year, Tosh.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tough. Once you get going, I'm sure you're okay. But getting that first hit is definitely a shock to the system. And you have to be prepared for it. You have to get going. Yeah, absolutely.
And the old thumb, the old middle finger of the right hand, man, that thing is just like solid. I have no feeling left in that finger when it gets cold. But yes, that is forgotten, Tosh. How about you? What's forgotten with you, Tosh?
Well, I tell you what, this segment is going to take on a little bit personal meaning for me this week. My forgotten, it was a year ago today. Which is November 5th, that my wife Melissa was going through her radiation for her cancer treatments, and I shaved her head. So we were talking about that today, and she goes, "You should use that for you never forgetting, because for your forgotten, because I don't want to remember that ever again. That's the last time I want you to shave my head." And I want to forget that as well, and we're definitely going to move past that, and hopefully it goes back into that small part of the memory that only comes out every once in a while.
No, exactly. One, Melissa had a terrific idea. That is a great topic for this. Totally agree on that point. But more importantly, she battled through that. It's not a surprise, but it's a scary situation. And she came out the other end with a great head of hair. Absolutely. And that is that's a tough one. I feel bad, but congrats to Melissa for sure for a fight that and a fight that you have to continue to fight, I'm sure. But
in fact, that kind of leads into our never forgetting as well. For me, it is the same thing. We're just never forgetting that fight, never forgetting the battle. We've definitely moved past it in the last year, and hopefully things continue to progress in the right direction. But it's been a long year, but a lot of good has come out of it, and we're never forgetting the times together as a family, and Melissa's battle and the fighter that she is.
Heck yeah. Makes for good chapters in her book someday. So here's to 24.
How about you, Joe?
Well, Tash, I'm never forgetting. I'm never forgetting trying to learn social media with this whole experiment that we're doing here with the Newsa-Cast. That alongside us is social media, and Taylor, our producer, his wife Lindsay, kind of stepped up and said, "You know what? I can help you guys with social media." She kind of jives with us, has sort of the same thought processes that we have, so it's working really well. So I'm never forgetting just how fun this is to learn social media. I mean, at my age, there's a lot out there. It's a lot. I mean, we started with nothing, and to do TikToks and Instagrams and all that kind of stuff, it's been enlightening for sure. And Lindsay has been kicking what for the last couple of weeks. So
absolutely,
if you haven't had a chance, just check out our socials. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, X, or formerly Twitter.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Exactly. YouTube is huge too. That's we have a lot of content on YouTube, and Lindsay and Taylor, they're the ones that are making all that go. So I'm never forgetting that. I'm having a heck of a lot of fun adding to that memory of never forgetting this. So thank you to those guys, and thank you to you guys for following all of our social platforms. Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Newsa-Cast. We'd really appreciate it if you'd hit up our social pages, subscribe, like, follow, and don't be afraid to engage. Head over to our YouTube channel to get exclusive content like the full interviews and speeches from past Red Smith banquets. Thanks for listening to the Newsa-Cast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and tell a friend. A huge thank you to Digstown for all the music in today's episode. Catch a gig or find them on Spotify. Help us grow by subscribing wherever you get your pods or sharing the Newsa-Cast. Follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. One of the best ways to help us grow is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Northeastern Wisconsin Sports Advancement is a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to raise money, provide support, and bring greater awareness for youth sports organizations in Northeast Wisconsin. We do this primarily through the Red Smith Sports Award Banquet and the Newsa-Cast. Each year, we give back to the community through 3 initiatives: the Every Kid Plays Grant, the Gives Back Initiative, and scholarships to student athletes.